Hello. I just want to say hello to the 5 fish fangirls. No, that's wrong. I want to say hello to the 5-ish fangirls. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yes,
correct.
that's
Anyway,
correct.
hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello. That's 5 hellos to the 5 fish-ish fangirls. Bye.
The tangents and squeeing continue, and we are on episode 2 of the 5-ish Fangirls podcast, and I don't know about you, but my dad is number 1. Welcome everybody to our next episode. We survived episode number 1 and had enough fun that we're going to do this again. So, just to remind everybody, let's go around the table and introduce ourselves.
I'm Brittany from Taos.
I'm Christy from Salt Lake City.
I'm Holly from Wisconsin.
I'm Michelle from Kitchener, Ontario.
And I am Rachel from Indianapolis, Indiana. So how is everybody? Obviously everybody survived recording the first episode and having it out there for everybody to hear. Nobody died of embarrassment.
No, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
We're all okay. We're all alive. Yeah.
We're all okay.
That's
We're all
good.
here. It's great.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone for your support, your tweets, your comments, your
Yes.
words of encouragement and good vibes. It was great. It was fun having that out there.
Yes, I'm still shocked of how much. Never mind. Okay, try this again. Sorry.
She's so overwhelmed.
Yes.
So overwhelmed by the feels. It's okay, Brittany. You're a fangirl. You can get feels. It's okay.
I should be used to that. I'm shocked by all the community support we've gotten so far, and it's just been
Yeah, everybody's been,
Our listeners are awesome.
yes, everybody's
Yes,
been
they are.
absolutely amazing. And hopefully we won't disappoint with the second show. We have got a lot to discuss in this particular show. So we are going to jump straight into this week's Fangirl News.
I feel like we need an intro for our news segment. I don't know.
should. All right.
We'll put that on the we'll put that on the table. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, I'm bringing the first piece of news to the table, which is Georgia R. Martin, the author of A Song of Ice and Fire series, is raising money for the Wild Spirit Wolf Sanctuary in New Mexico, and donating to this campaign offers all manners of prizes. Chief among these is that your donation enters you a chance to win a trip to tour the sanctuary with Mr. Martin himself. Like many fundraising campaigns, sorry, I'm messing up. I can't read. Like many fundraising campaigns, this one has tiered levels of giving and attendant prizes. The highest level, which is for $20,000 in donations, is appropriately known as Mara. Quote from the page. At this level, you get the incredibly exclusive opportunity to have George name a character after you in a future A Song of Ice and Fire novel. This is one male character and one female character available. You can choose your character station in the world: lordling, knight, peasant, lady, master, anything you want. And you certainly meet a grisly death. No shock there.
No.
At this point, both Marta prizes have been claimed. We will link the prizer page so you can see where the rewards are available. Any donation level will enter you for a chance to visit the sanctuary with Mr. Martin. The entire campaign has very nearly reached its 200,000 goal on the very first day.
Which does not surprise me because Game of Thrones is huge.
That is
At
true.
all.
And people pay good money when they get the opportunity to be put in a book and even killed off.
Yeah.
So, but
Especially by George R. R. Martin.
That's a story
Oh,
you'll be
yeah.
able to tell your grandkids later. Yeah, I was killed off in a Game of Thrones book.
right?
Although the way he kills off his characters,
Might not be appropriate for the grandchildren.
yeah, you might not get grandchildren. I don't know.
That's true.
Good point.
So next in news, if you've been paying attention to it all, you know that E3 was going on last week, which is the big entertainment video gaming expo that happens every year. And one thing that I know my husband is very, very excited about, being the Star Wars fan he is that the reveal for the new Star Wars Battlefront video game. AE and DICE unveiled a new teaser trailer for the new Star Wars Battlefront game that was announced at last year's event, which is due out in spring of 2015. The trailer shows DICE game developers going through the Lucasfilm archives, examining and photographing original models and artwork from the Star Wars franchise, as well as visiting filming locations used in the films. I know off the top of my head, I saw them visiting the Redwood Forest out in California that was used in Return of the Jedi. That is a very well-known location. That's actually part of a national forest there in California, so anybody can visit it. So if you ever find yourself out in California and want to visit the moon of Endor, you can. But
Nice.
apparently this game has been in development for quite a while, according to my husband. It has been on the burner for years and years and years and years and kept getting pushed to the sidelines, and then they finally made this announcement last year, and now there's actual work happening, so it looks like it might actually happen, and Lord knows my husband will buy it the day it comes out.
So is this have anything to do with the fact that Disney now owns Star Wars and they actually know how to get crap done?
I don't think so, because AE is the one doing this. Disney has nothing to do with it. Disney does have a gaming development division. Unfortunately, it's not been very successful and has collapsed. So I'm sure Disney is making money off of this as far as licensing is concerned. But I don't think other than that Disney has very much involvement in this particular game, which in this case is probably a good thing because video gaming is not really Disney's thing.
So my snarky quip there was for nothing then.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Darn it. Okay.
And our next bit of news is Doctor Who related. The Doctor and Clara are going on a tour. This comes from the Doctor Who .tv website. The trip will see 12th Doctor Peter Capaldi, on-screen companion Jenna Coleman, and the show's lead writer and executive producer Stephen Moffat visit 7 cities across 5 continents in 12 days, where they will attend fan events and media interviews, publicizing Series 8 to a global audience. And side note, due to production commitments, Stephen Moffat will be unable to attend the entire tour. The cities he will join the tour for will be announced soon. The tour marks the largest ever promotional undertaking in Doctor Who's 50-year history and will kick off in Welsh capital and home of the series production, Cardiff, before taking in London in the UK, Seoul in South Korea, Sydney, Australia, New York here in the States, Mexico City, Mexico, and Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. More details of the itinerary will be available from DoctorWho.tv soon, as well as reports from the tour as it happens, which fans everywhere will be able to enjoy.
Man,
Sounds
I wished I lived closer to New York.
Same.
I would be all over that.
I don't see why they couldn't have also come to Toronto. Especially considering that Sidney Newman, who created Doctor Who, was born in Toronto.
I did not know that.
Well, I guess if there's only a handful of places they could go, I guess New York is sort of BBC America's default place to put Doctor Who stuff. But at the same time, I'm kind of wondering, because this comes so soon after Comic-Con, I assume Doctor Who is going to be at Comic-Con.
Oh,
Nothing's been announced yet, but I don't see why they wouldn't be there. So, but how much of a presence I'm guessing Capaldi's going to be there. I'm guessing Jenna Coleman, but that's the thing. I'm just guessing that they're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con.
Right.
So I don't know. Will this affect that or have any impact on it whatsoever?
Yeah. And there's no specific.
I don't think so, but that was my first thought.
There's no specific dates yet, but it's supposed to take place in August. I would assume that once we get dates, I wonder if we'll get dates for this at around the same time that we'll get an official date for Series 8. Because I wonder if this will take place right before.
I thought there was a date for it. Like, it would end August 19th, because I remember seeing that, like, oh, well, we know that Series 8 is airing the end of August because this tour goes until the 19th of August.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm crazy and imagine that I saw the dates, but I swear I saw that. Anyway.
I don't know. I haven't seen anything, but that I just read what they posted. I haven't gone scouring for anything else, so who knows. Very exciting, though. I have a friend that lives in the New York-ish area, and she's going to try and go when they do the New York appearance. So that will be. Hopefully, if she gets to go, maybe we'll get we can get a report from her afterwards. So.
Yeah. Okay. So the tour will launch in the United Kingdom on August 7th and finish up in Brazil on August 19th. This is from CinemaBlend.com. So they do have the dates set for it.
Okay.
And they speculate that we might not expect Doctor Who to premiere until at least August 23rd. Note, this is not an actual date we're reporting. This is just someone speculating when Season 8 will premiere. So maybe I ought to stop now before I start
rumors.
The rumor mill going.
Yeah.
That's fine by me, though. Yeah. It's like, I'm even if it's speculation, I at least like having some sort of date floating there in my brain, so...
Yeah. So anytime after August 19th, it looks like, because that's when the tour goes to.
Cool. Exciting.
Cool beans.
So, Michelle has got Doctor Who related news as well.
Yes, the first lot of galley guests has been announced. So, I've got the galley page up. So we got Eve Miles, Derek Sherwin, Janet Fielding, Sophie Aldred, Wendy Padbury, Danny Hargreaves, Andy Pryor, Kai Owen, Fraser Hines, Terry Malloy, Christopher Niam. I'm sorry if I butchered that. He was Skagra in Shia. Sarah Louise Madison, who is has been playing Weeping Angels, but she was also a time zombie in Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. And then Paul Cornell, Gary Russell, Tony Lee, and yeah.
That's a lot of guests for one announcement.
Yeah.
At any other con, that would be the guest list.
Just in the first announcement.
Yeah.
And they say that, of course, this is only the beginning. We will be making many guest confirmations over the course of the next 8 months and have only begun to scratch the surface. We're aiming to make 2015 our biggest year ever for talent, and we can't wait to show you what we've got planned.
Well, yeah, there's no doctors on that list, so you got at least at least a doctor or two. So you could probably assume Paul McGann. I'm sure.
For the one for Fraser Hines, it's his 7th appearance in a row at Galley.
Wow. Yeah, he's been going to Galley for a long time, and he seems to be a mainstay there. So.
Yeah. That's a pretty good list, though. You got Gwen and Reese. Gwen and Reese are going to be reunited.
I know, Gwen and Reese and Jamie and Zoe.
Yep.
Which means I'm gonna have to get them both to sign something, like the same. Get something for them both to sign.
Yeah.
You should.
Nope. Yeah. Even if I have to bring something myself.
You could do that.
Yeah.
I did that when
That's
I went
what I
to,
do.
when I went to Galley. I had Fraser sign a picture that I brought from home.
Yeah.
Well, because John and Mel had like a bunch at last Galley that like they showed me that in case the people didn't have anything that they wanted, that they brought their own stuff. Mm-hmm. So I might have to bring something with Jamie and Zoe just to guarantee that I have something for them both to sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a good plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, yay,
That's
Gally!
Very exciting.
Yay,
I'm excited. We're excited to see who else
only
they
8
get.
more months.
Yeah.
Only.
Oh.
All right. Well, speaking of premieres, the next in the news is the first trailer for The Legend of Korra Book 3 has been released, which I'm really excited about. For those of you who don't know, Legend of Korra is the spin-off sequel series kind of Avatar: The Last Airbender on Nickelodeon, and it's a fantastic show. It's one of my favorites. Highly recommended. Anyway, season 3, or they call it Book 3. Other seasons are called books. Book 3 is called Change, which, going off of what happened last season, is quite apt. And I've seen this trailer a couple of times, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited because there are some characters from Avatar: The Last Airbender who have not yet been seen in Legend of Korra, and I'm excited about it. And I'm really I was kind of surprised that it came out so early, but I guess there was a major leak. The Nickelodeon studios that somebody left the screener copies of episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6 on the shelf, and someone decided, hey, let's put this on the internet. So, and it's like, and there was actually an article where the creators of Legend of Korra talked about the season 3 leak, and they basically said it would have been a little bit easier to stomach if it had been the first 4 episodes, but since these were in the middle, it's kind of a problem. And I've already seen a few spoilers, not just floating around there on Tumblr, and I'm like, oh, you guys really? But anyway, the silver lining in all this, the trailer is out. More Korra, more awesome, more joy, and we'll put the trailer in the show notes so you all can see it. And if you haven't seen the show, well, you probably got lists and lists of shows you already watched, but try, yeah, if animation is your thing, give it a shot. It's definitely worth your time. Even though it's on Nickelodeon, which Nickelodeon's kind of, it's Nickelodeon. But it's a little more mature. I'll have to do like a full review rundown of it sometime, but it's one of my favorites. And then also in news, this is totally different to what we were talking about before. Tom Hiddleston, everyone's favorite Loki, is actually going to be playing Hank Williams in a new biopic. The biopic is, according to Deadline, Tom Hiddleston has been cast as country music legend Hank Williams in an upcoming biopic, I See the Light. And yes, folks, the Avengers star and all-around internet sensation will actually be singing in the movie. As an aside, I think this is a sign that he is trying to take over the world and he is actively trying to kill us. Because Tom Hiddleston and singing, and my personal taste, when I was growing up, my grandpa played the guitar and he would play a lot of Hank Williams stuff. So this is kind of that's another reason I'm really excited about it, because it's an intriguing bit of history for me, and the fact that Tom Hiddleston's in it, I'm excited about this. So I think it's going to be a fun time. So, and they've actually, the movie has secured a deal with Sony for the rights for some of Williams' catalog, including the songs Hey Good Lookin', I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, and Your Cheatin' Heart, which I thought they better have the rights to those songs, otherwise it wouldn't be a Hank Williams biopic.
Yeah.
But anyway. So anyway, Tom Hiddleston is singing, he's playing Hank Williams. Fangirls, run.
I could see that though. I mean, I grew up on country music, and I can see the physical resemblance, and we know Tom is just, as talented. He's got more talent in his small toe than I do in my entire body. So, and biopics have really they've become kind of a big thing in the last few years. I mean, you had Ray.
Done really well.
Yeah, I mean, you had Ray, and you had
Walk the Line.
Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix. They've got the one that's coming out in a couple weeks. That's Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, the Jersey Boys. So, and then there's the one that's James Brown that's getting ready to come out as well. So, You know.
Well, and like when I saw the Johnny Cash one, I was like, okay, you got Johnny Cash, and he's cool, and I get that, but I'm like, but where's the Hank Williams one? You cannot. I mean, I know I'm showing a little bit of redneck over here, but you cannot have a good overview of country music without talking about Hank Williams, because he was the man. That's what you. I mean, you just can't do it, and I'm really thrilled about this. This is going to be a lot of fun. I hope they do it. I hope they do it well.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
That's exciting. Very exciting.
It is exciting.
So you can look forward to that probably sometime next year, I would guess.
Yeah, it doesn't say when exactly the movie will be coming out. Let's see, directing. Mark Abraham is set to direct the project. There's a few movies that. There's a few movies that he's directed. I don't know any of them. He's directed Spy Game, Dawn of the Dead, and Children of Men. I'm not familiar with any of those, but if anyone else is, let me know. And the screenplay for the movie is based on a biography by Colin Escott. Production is slated to begin in Louisiana this October. So
probably sometime next year.
Probably next year, yeah.
Cool.
So that's what we know. So that's what's going on.
That's cool. So that's it for...
Yay, the news.
Yep. That is it for news. So we're going to move on to feedback, and we actually have feedback. We're very excited.
Yes,
People actually sent us actual feedback.
This is like we're an actual podcast now, because there are people listening to us and sending us feedback and comments. So it's like, oh, I'm not going to cry. I promised myself I wouldn't cry. I'm not crying, really. I'm just faking it. I wouldn't cry on air. Come on.
All right. I think I've had proof. That's a dig at myself for what happened at Galley, not last year, but the year before that. I am ashamed.
It's okay. We'll do another show where we can talk about our in-person fangirling moments of where we've met people and have completely embarrassed ourselves, and we can share stories.
This wasn't even in front of anybody. It was just in front of Sean and Mel, and it was like the last night of the con.
Glenn left already.
Glenn had gone already. He left. He had to catch a flight, and he had things to do.
So we got
feedback.
Yep.
Yes.
Feedback. We got some feedback.
Yeah, Jazz hands. I totally didn't do that right. I'm sorry, Sean.
Sean, your royalty check is in the mail for that right there.
You'll get Twizzlers. There's your royalties.
So,
first bit of feedback comes from Glenn, and Glenn writes, "Dear Five-ish fangirls, I'll have to come up with something as clever as Vortex Boys or many of the other salutations used for Keith, Sean, and myself on our podcast. Congratulations on the first show. I loved it so much, and I am so glad to hear you ladies getting the podcast off the ground. I am also excited that you all have chosen to cover a variety of fandoms, most of which I have in common with all five of you. I'm also proud to be a small part of the reason why you all came together. I don't have much else to comment on because I know all of you already. So your first episode was a recap for me of you all and how you came together. Knowing a little about what you have prepared for this episode, I'm looking forward to hearing it as well. Keep up the excellent work, Glenn. P.S. Happy Father's Day to all your child-blessed listeners. And also, Glenn has claimed as of right now our #1 resident fan."
Yeah. We may have mentioned that we had somebody that claimed that title last week, but did not mention who it was. But Glenn he is out and proud that he has claimed his title as our #1 fan. So
#1 fan.
If anyone wants to,
give it to him.
if anyone wants to fight him for that, he can be found Glenn at travelingthevortex.com or Vortex Glenn on Twitter.
Yes. And just, I don't know if we want to out him a little bit further on this. Actually, all the Vortex boys, they've been really great in helping us, like answering our questions, especially about tech stuff and just how to do the general podcasting stuff. And it's been really nice to have those guys kind of help us out, because some of us are kind of clueless on how all this stuff works. All we know how to do is talk into a microphone and ramble on about stuff.
Yeah.
So thanks
Very much
guys.
appreciated.
Thank you for your support and willingness to help us out. You're awesome.
Yes, very. So. And next we have a piece of audio feedback that was sent to us from Nathaniel. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Nathaniel, who is a fellow Vortexian via the Twitter universe. So he sent in this piece of audio feedback.
Hi girls, Nathaniel from Icklewood, England. Congrats on the first podcast. Well done, well made, and entertaining. So congrats all around, but remember, only do it for fun and ignore any numpties that you inevitably get when doing podcasts and stuff like that. Looking forward, big change coming to Who, obviously Capaldi's arrival. How do you reckon he's going to play it? 6th? 1st? Like Davison? That would be a bit weird. I think, possibly, maybe. Any of you are able to get to New York for the world tour? And how could you not mention the Hillier Wood tribute parody? I mean, Doctor Who meets Rocky Horror, amazing, funny, and just wow, cool, awesome. I guess look forward to the next one. Cheery bye.
So thank you, Nathaniel, for that piece of feedback. We really appreciate you sending that in, and I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I think I can safely say that we are all very excited for Peter Capaldi as the new Doctor. So
yes,
very excited,
very
about
much
that.
so.
So that's it for feedback. But again, we want to reiterate, we want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has, given us a thumbs up and the smiley face either on Twitter or on Facebook. Everybody that's liked the Facebook page. We've gotten comments on the blog and on the videos on YouTube. I mean, we could sit here all day just, mentioning everybody that has said something encouraging to us in the last week. But it has just been amazing how nice everybody has been.
You all rock.
Yes. If we could send you all Twizzlers, we would. We're all virtual Twizzlers for everybody. I'm being like Oprah. You get a Twizzler, and you get a Twizzler, and you get a Twizzler.
Look under your chairs. Everyone gets Twizzlers or whatever your favorite candy is.
Exactly.
Go out and treat yourself, y'all.
Yeah. And on that note, we have had a couple of people ask about the podcast as far as getting it on iTunes. And at this point, unfortunately, we are not going to be posting episodes on iTunes. And I don't want to get into all the technical bits of it, but essentially if you come up with a podcast to get it on iTunes, you have to have it hosted somewhere, usually with an RSS feed, which that in itself is complicated that I'm not going to get into. But most podcasters have a website where they can host their episodes. There are some very common ones like Libsyn. I think another one that's commonly used is called FeedBurner. Unfortunately, those particular sites cost money, which is something we do not have. We are looking into possibly getting into something like that. We have had people approach us about donating funds to us, and that is extremely generous and nice of you. And we are looking into viable options for taking donations because we would like to get on iTunes eventually, because we know that that's just an easy place for people to get their podcast. iTunes automatically updates, and if you got it set up, it automatically downloads for you, so it's right there. You don't have to go looking for it. But unfortunately, at this point, that takes money, and we don't have any.
But we wanted to get started on creating content and actually having something, an actual podcast to post on there at some point. So, we could actually kind of get in the groove of this thing and let all the tech stuff and the money and whatever take care of itself as we go along. So,
exactly.
We're working this out. So be patient with us. And hang with us. We'll get this worked out.
Yeah, and until then, obviously you've got, we're putting the episodes up on YouTube. You can listen to them that way. We also will always put a link in the show notes where you can download the MP3 for that particular episode. I know it's not as good as iTunes where it's not going to automatically update and you have to go and actively download it, but you can get the MP3 if you want it to be portable. So that is an option for you, but eventually we would like to get on iTunes. It's just not going to happen anytime soon.
We'll get there, and keep watch our Facebook page. Make sure that you're getting those updates. If you have a YouTube account, subscribe to us on YouTube. You'll see it in your subscriptions, and you'll catch it there. Yes. And we'll always have the links to the blog post where it is. So if you want to download it, it's there. So there are ways to get it. They're not as easy as iTunes, but they'll get there.
Yep.
So yeah.
But if once we make a decision, any sort of decision, we will let you know. So stay tuned to the Facebook page and Twitter and all that stuff. So once we have something to announce, we'll let y'all know. So.
Yep. And do keep sending us feedback and comments and things, because they give us the warm fuzzies, and the more warm fuzzies we get, the more we record and talk about, and the more excited we get about this. So, yes. So you help us, we help you, and we all love our stuff. So,
yep.
Yay! That sounded weird. I'm sorry.
It's a feel-good moment.
Yes, feel goods. Yay!
So,
all right,
let's move on to this week's particular topic in honor of Father's Day. We have decided we are going to talk about our top, and I'm going to use this, I'm doing air quotes here, even though you can't see it, quote unquote, 10 dads in popular culture. We started out thinking it was going to be our top geekiest dads, and then we realized that would kind of pigeonholed a bit too much, so we expanded it to just our favorite dads in popular culture, and we're even using the term dad loosely here. Some of the people that came up when we were brainstorming our list aren't necessarily dads. They could be adoptive dads, they could be step parents, they could be just a father figure, they could be a grandparent. Really, it's just any male figure that we think is a good representation of that father-like model in whatever fandom they're a member of. And of course, us being us, we couldn't come up with just 10. I think we ended up with like 17 or 18. So we have our 10, and then we also...
What is that?
Yeah, exactly. So we've got 10. Yeah, we've got 10, and then we've got a list of honorable mentions that is almost another 10. But so we're just going to go around the table here, and everybody's going to get an opportunity to talk about their particular one, and then we'll throw in our 2 cents. And I think maybe some of us will learn a thing or two about some of these particular characters, because I know there's a few I'm not familiar with, and I think that's the case for some of the other ladies as well. So we're gonna, and these are in no particular order. We did not rank these; they are just I just alphabetized them by who voted for who. That's the order they're in. So we are in no way saying one is better than the other. These are just the ones that we thought deserved mention. So we're going to start with Brittany's first choice.
So, my first choice is Professor Xavier from the X-Men. I picked him because I figured that he's a pretty important figure, father figure to many of the mutant students that go to the school, because a lot of them are runaways, I would imagine, escaped, and I'm pretty sure they imagine the biological fathers won't understand them. And then they get to the school with Professor Xavier, who is a mutant and is would be a father figure to them. Going through this, I can imagine, confusing, and I mean, it was hard enough when I was being a teenager. I can imagine having these mutant powers where a lot of people were scared of them and wanted to cause harm and all that That's kind of why I picked him. You guys have anything to say?
Well, I really like that you brought up that, you know, some of these kids who, you know, they're runaways, and they, you know, they've been, maybe they ran away from home, you know, who knows what their biological parents thought of their powers, and just for them, just the fact that Xavier came out and started this school so these kids could have a place to feel normal, to feel like they have friends and family, and have safety. I mean, that's sort of, you know, when we think of a good dad, I mean, that's something that we often think of as a protector, or someone who can mentor you through the hard stuff. And, you know, and I mean, I'm not familiar with the comics at all. I just, you know, whatever I've seen in the movies or even in the animated TV show. But he's just, I don't know, I like seeing Days of Future Past most recently. Xavier went through a lot of those growing pains a little bit with his powers, and just that he would want to extend his wisdom to those around him who are dealing with the same thing. I think that's very admirable and very fatherly.
Plus, who wouldn't want Patrick Stewart as their professor?
Exactly.
Seriously. True. Exactly.
Coolest guy ever. So. All right, Chrissy, your first choice.
Okay, well, I'm actually going to go out of order a little bit than what's on the list. And I'm going to go with, because when we were making this list, and I kind of came in late because I'm procrastinator that way, and all the ones I could think of off the top of my head were taken, so mine are a little offbeat. But the first one I want to talk about that I picked was Andrew Pryor from Divergent, from the book series and movie series now, Divergent. And when you think of father figures or parent figures in this series, there's one big one in Divergent, and I'm going to be talking a little bit get into spoiler territory here, so I apologize. You can skip ahead a little bit if you want. But I picked Andrew, even though he dies at the end of Divergent, of the first book, and not Marcus Eaton, because Marcus is in the rest of the series. But Marcus is an abusive jerk, and on Father's Day, I don't want to dwell on negative things. I want to dwell on some good things. And as the story unfolds and you follow Triss in kind of this self-discovery thing, she finds out some stuff about her parents. I won't talk too much about her mom here because that's not the scope here, but her dad, he's actually from the Erudite faction originally, and he transferred over to Abnegation, which is the faction that we see Triss and her family in at the beginning. And the reason he switched over was because Erudite was doing some really terrible things, and he kind of realized, oh, I shouldn't be doing this stuff. This isn't right. And Abnegation is the faction that they're over government, but they're also, you know, they're very, you know, they take the idea that government should serve the people rather than rule the people. They take that very seriously, so that's why Abnegation's over government. So Andrew Pryor was one of their leaders, but he instilled in his kids a sense of, you know, being selfless and helping others and serving everybody, to the extent that Triss, she compared everything she did in her, like most of her actions, to, you know, what her father would want her to do, like how selfless that she would be, even though she had so many selfish proclivities and things that she would do that weren't what she thought her father would approve of. But in the end, and something I think is really important at the end of Divergent is Andrew was very he was accepting of his daughter, even though she left the Abnegation faction, because I think in the end he kind of realizes that, yeah, he left his faction too, and that's what he felt was right. So I think he more or less forgives her for that. And I think it's a really interesting relationship to look at throughout the whole series, even though he's not there the entire time. But what he teaches his daughter and his son as well, even though Caleb, yeah, we won't talk about him. But yeah, what was I going to say? it's just that the things he taught her stuck with her, and I think that's something, you know, we can that I guess people that I've known who become parents, they want the good things, that they want to teach good things to their kids and hope that those things stick with them. And as far as that goes, I think Andrew Pryor did a really good job with his kids, even though it didn't end so well for them. And I'll probably get other Divergent fans going, "What do you mean, you?" Whatever. But that was my take on that one.
Very
Anyone
cool.
have anything they want to add?
I can't say too much. I just got into the Divergent series. I'm actually sitting right next to me is the Insurgent.
Oh, I probably spoiled it all for you. I'm sorry.
Well, I have finished Divergent, so I did know that he died.
Okay.
So,
well, I guess that's the important thing. But there's more stuff. Most of it comes in the third book, so I won't say anything else. But anyway, so yay, Divergent.
That's not one I'm familiar with, but that's very interesting. You know, considering the only young adult type that I've read in that similar vein is the Hunger Games, and obviously there's not a father figure there, so that's very interesting that, you know, in this case, you know, the heroine's got both parents, at least for at the beginning, which is good. Mm-hmm. So if I ever get around to reading those particular ones, I'll have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I just one little comment. There is an argument you could say that Haymitch is kind of, in the Hunger Games, Haymitch Abernathy is sort of Katniss's father figure mentor, but he's kind of a screw up.
Yeah.
Even though he tries really hard. But I didn't want to let that comment stand without that, because I'm sure someone would come in and say, but what about blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So, but anyway, but that's kind of an interesting thing. Yeah, dystopia, young adult novels, I guess they have to get the parents out of the way somehow, and
it's like
the
Disney.
way to do it is to kill them off.
Yeah, it's like Disney.
Disney.
Kill off at least
get rid
one
of the moms.
Yep.
That's how you create dramas. Get rid of your mom. Get rid of your dad.
Yep.
Be on your own. Kill Mufasa.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
So, Holly, let's hear about one of yours.
Okay, my first choice was Rupert Giles from Buffy, Buffy's Watcher. Now, he's more of a father figure. Buffy's dad basically never showed up in the series, vague mention, and basically he's the father figure for Buffy herself, training her to being with the Slayer, but even all the rest of the Scooby Gang, Xander, Willow, Cordelia, even Anya. I mean, okay, Anya, Vengeance Demon, but just to have that guidance and direction. I mean, Cordelia, Willow, and Xander, sure, they had all their folks, but Xander's dad's not going to win any Father of the Year awards. Cordelia's dad's busy making money, and Willow's parents are just kind of like, okay, dear, how was your day at school? And that's about it. I mean, Giles got fired from his job, spoilers, as a watcher, because they said, hey, your relationship with Buffy, you're too much like a father for her. So, I mean, he's seen them through more ups than downs than probably anyone would want to see a kid go through.
And again, that's another fandom that I'm not familiar with at all. I'm learning all sorts of things here with this. So
yeah, I mean, I've never watched Buffy, but I've heard like fans, you know, Giles is one of their big favorites in that show. So yeah, I didn't know any of that about him either.
Yeah, I mean, sure, he has his moments where like, why am I dealing with these teens? But I mean, deep down, he cares about them.
Yeah.
Cool.
I know what you mean. I've watched Buffy, but I haven't watched it since it was first on back in the 90s. Now I was a kid, and so I don't remember too much. But it is a show I'm going back to. And yeah, I remember really loving Giles and just being there for all of them. And I really can't comment, so I don't know why I even spoke up. Sorry.
That's okay. So, Michelle, one of yours, your next up?
Yeah. Well, my first one is Bobby Singer from Supernatural, who is a father figure to the two main characters, Sam and Dean Winchester, and is actually more of a better father figure to them than their actual biological father, who their biological father, John Winchester, was so obsessed with avenging the death of his wife, their mother, that he wasn't a very good father to them. He raised them to be hunters, but Bobby advocated, like, when they were little, actually allowing them to be children. And he remained a father figure to them for a long time after their own father died. Because I just rewatched the episode in which Bobby died just this afternoon. And because I realized that because it depicted a lot of one point when he was supposed to take Dean out to practice with a rifle, but he took him out and had him throw a baseball around instead. So, and he helped them a lot, like when they were hunting various different like monsters and demons and whatever. So
I agree with you, Michelle. And he even told them, hey, if you aren't thinking right, he called them idiots, in a rough, roundabout way. If Dean was going to, not really treating Sam and letting Sam do his own thing, Bobby kind of stepped in and said, hey.
Yeah, and Bobby never had his own children because he was too afraid of turning out like his father.
Mm-hmm.
Because his father was like an abusive alcoholic who would hurt Bobby and his mom and was really mean. So he was too afraid of turning out like that, so he never had his own children. And then he sort of adopted Sam and Dean, and they were sort of his children. So
very interesting. So I guess I will go to my first choice, which is Albus Dumbledore from Harry Potter. Again, another father-type figure without being a father himself. But, obviously Harry grew up without his parents, and the only parental figures he had were Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia, which are, as far as Harry's concerned, the least paternal people in the entire universe. At least as far as his existence is concerned. So when he goes to Hogwarts and, meets Dumbledore, and he and Dumbledore make this connection, and, Dumbledore knows all about Harry when Harry doesn't even know much about himself as far as his history concerned. And Dumbledore knows what Harry's destiny is, which we find out all the way at the end of book 7. That, spoilers, Harry is a Horcrux and eventually is supposed to die. And Dumbledore knows this, but at the same time, he lets Harry be a kid, which is something that he didn't get an opportunity to really do before going to Hogwarts. Dumbledore always made sure that Harry was watched over by his friends and the fellow professors, but at the same time, he let Harry get into trouble and let him have adventures and make friends and do all those things that kids are supposed to do when they're kids. But still guiding him gently up to a certain point and allowing Harry to grow and become a young man who will be the chosen one to go on and face Voldemort. So, unfortunately, Dumbledore, as nice and wonderful and as powerful he is, he's very flawed. which is something that I think a lot of these men have in common. As good as they are still quote unquote human and have those flaws. And
Definitely.
Dumbledore, allows his fondness and love for Harry, I think, cloud his judgment. I think it's, he maybe protected Harry a bit too much from the truth and didn't always tell Harry what he needed to know, which in hindsight probably would have made Harry's life a lot easier. At least as far as...
Isn't there there's one point, I think it's in Order of the Phoenix, correct me if I'm wrong, people, that Dumbledore, he says his mistake was that he loved Harry too much. Like, he should, for this grand big plan to work, he should have kept his distance from Harry and just used, Harry is the Horcrux, treat him like just another kid, but he ultimately is an object of Voldemort's downfall, but he allowed himself to love Harry and to care about him as he would a son or a grandson. And so he could not tell Harry what his true destiny was, and that was a major problem partway through the story, especially after Voldemort returned, and Harry needed to know that, but Dumbledore couldn't bring himself to ruin Harry's childhood, as it were, and tell him this terrible, terrible truth.
Yeah.
I remember when I read that, because if I remember right, it was Order of the Phoenix at the end. I remember being split. Like, I was on both the sides. Like, I was like, Harry really, really should have known all of this since the beginning. But I was like, which was Dumbledore, like, he didn't want to ruin his childhood, as much childhood as he had. Mm-hmm. And he, because I can't imagine knowing all of that, knowing that you're the chosen one, the destiny of killing and being killed, the greatest, well, not the greatest, the, like, most evil wizard. Like, that's insane. I just can't imagine it. So, like I said, I'm on both sides. Whoa.
Well, we know at the end of the day that, after the fact, Harry didn't hold any grudge because he named one of his kids after him, so...
Yeah.
That's true. But he also, he held so little of a grudge, he also named him after Severus Snape.
Yep.
Which I still don't get it at.
Neither do I.
That's another topic of discussion.
Yeah.
That's a discussion for a different
time. Like, Harry, let Ginny name the kids. Come on.
So, well, anyway, worked our way back around. So, Brittany, your second choice.
Right. And we're going to be staying in the Harry Potter universe because my next choice is Arthur Weasley. I picked him because I thought he was a really wonderful father. He had 7 kids, which is insane to think of. But he also took in Harry and Hermione and was helping them. And he had so much support for all of his kids. And we didn't get to see him too much, which was unfortunately. But I could always tell, like, he was probably supporting all his kids and his choices, including the twins with the prank shop when Molly was definitely against it. And I remember feeling so, and back to Order of the Phoenix, I remember feeling so mad at Percy for all he did. I was like, how could you do that to your family, and pretty much betraying his family, especially his father, because with his father working at the ministry and like causing all that problems. Like, how could you do that to your father? And I remember almost not wanting to forgive Percy. But again, this is actually something for later. So we get back to Arthur. he was such a wonderful father, and I remember thinking, why couldn't Dumbledore left Harry with Arthur and Molly growing up? I mean, I understand the whole reason they explained all and all that, but really wonderful father to all of his own kids, and to having enough love to take in Harry and Hermione and all, and that's why he's my second choice. You guys
Arthur is what you.
What?
And Arthur's kind of like a dad who loves his gadgets, and he'll do stuff with the kids and get into a little bit of trouble, and like, hey, don't tell Mom, it's their secret. But then Mom, of course, finds out anyway.
I can just picture that happening.
Arthur is what you call the paterfamilias. And if you don't know what that means, watch, oh brother, where art thou?
Yes.
Chrissy,
Yes.
your next choice.
My second one. Okay. So the other one I picked was
This
Prince
wasn't a
Charming
surprise when I
/
saw this
David
on the
Nolan.
list.
What's that?
I said this wasn't a surprise when I saw it on the list. I knew you were going to put that on there.
Oh yeah, and it's only fitting I talked about it. Prince Charming, David Nolan. It's the same character. Prince Charming is his fairy tale land name. David Nolan is his name in Storybrooke as a cursed person. This is from Once Upon a Time. I just gotta say, one of my favorite things about Once Upon a Time is just how complex the relationships are, and how rich the stories and the characters are. Because you think about fairy tales, and traditionally fairy tales are not that complex, and they're actually kind of shallow, even though we love them so much. And none more so than Prince Charming. I mean, this Prince Charming he's taken from Snow White. So if you've ever seen the Disney version of Snow White, that version of Prince Charming is nothing more than a cardboard cutout. There's just nothing to him at all, which I think is kind of fun that the writers had a lot of fun. They just took this character and said, okay, what all can we do to this character? What can we do with him? Kind of make him that heroic character, but also make him a real character. And in the first episode of Once Upon a Time, the first thing you see Prince Charming do is kiss Snow White and wake her up, and and they get married, and you assume they live happily ever after. Well, the next little bit you see of them, they're expecting a baby, and then they find out about the curse that is going to send them to our world, and they won't remember who they are, and the evil queen will get her revenge on Snow White and take away all the happy endings, blah, blah, blah. In the meantime, Snow and Charming are expecting a baby, and this baby is prophesied that she will what am I trying to say? Well, she'll break the curse, but she has to get away from the curse first. Okay, baby's going to be born. So he takes his newborn child, and they're taking her to this magic wardrobe where she'll be sent away from the curse. So he has to fight all these the black guards. He fights them one-handed with the baby in his hand, and gets her to the wardrobe, and then he dies, quote unquote dies. But then they're cursed, and he gets sent back to our world with no memory. And I think that's a very strong opening scene for him, because the rest of the season, David spends kind of being not a nice person, because in his cursed persona, he has a wife that isn't Snow White. It's somebody else. But he runs around on his wife and cheats on her and everything, and it's kind of, it's very Desperate Housewives, and if the show didn't have the fairy tale component, I would have left a long time ago, but they kept going back to the fairy tale, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to stick with it. But with Charming, after everybody's not cursed anymore in season 2, you really get to see what kind of a hero he is, and what kind of, like, he would do anything for his family, especially his daughter Emma, because she grew up and she came back to save them, but she grew up without her parents, and it's kind of a big sticking point in the show is that she basically felt abandoned all her life, by a lot of people, not just her parents. But David, charming, he really goes out of his way, and you just see it. It's not even overtly in the story. It's just the way he acts toward his daughter, that he really cares about her, and that he wants her to feel like she has a home, that she has a family. And there's an arc in season 2 where Snow and Emma are separated from their family, and you see David back in Storybrooke in our world trying to get them out of the portal that they fell through, and he's trying to take charge and keep order in town, and he's also taking care of his grandson Henry, which their relationship is so adorable. I love it. I want to see more of it, because it's like now they all know who each other is. Like, he teaches him how to sword fight, and it's really cool. It's one of those things that I just adore. But in season 3, there was one episode that it took me a while to really warm up to, because there was a lull in season 3 that I was like, oh, why are we doing this? That I wasn't that enamored with. But this one episode, through a random series of events, they lose their memories again, but they remember who they are. They've lost this 1 year, but they only know time has passed because Snow White is heavily pregnant, and they don't remember it. They don't remember anything before they wake up in Storybrooke again, and they're gonna have a baby. It's like, hello. But he actually has nightmares. David actually has nightmares about.
I haven't got there yet.
Spoilers.
I can tell you this. It's okay. This isn't that spoilery. Sorry, I should have blown the spoilers.
I know they have a baby, but I don't know that they lose their memories while she's.
Well, there's more to it than that, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, but he starts having doubts about, he's like, I missed out on being a dad the first time around. I kind of screwed that up, although it wasn't his fault. And there's a lot of fear and a lot of doubt in him, and you don't often see that with all these dads that we're talking about, all these mentors, because most of the time we're looking at it through Harry Potter's perspective or Buffy's, and it's someone outside of the main character, so we don't often see those doubts that come into these dads and father figures. So I really appreciated that they took that time to spend with Charming and say, like, okay, yeah, he is this great grand hero, and he's done all these wonderful things and defending his family and protecting them and loving them and all these things, but he has really very real doubts and fears as well. And it was so I won't go into what the episode is, so I won't spoil Michelle. But there's just some really nice touches with that character, and it's something I really appreciate that they do with that, and really giving him a lot of motivation and personality and backstory, and you really see where he comes from, and they do that with all the characters in the show, which is something I'm very, very pleased with. So, Holly or Michelle, even, or you guys want to add anything to that?
Charming really, he takes his family role very seriously, and there's even a cute moment later on in season 3 where he wants to be the cool grandpa.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that.
Henry driving.
They take Henry driving, and it's so funny. I mean, it's just a funny little moment. It's in one of my absolute favorite episodes of this season, and it's just and he pulverizes a mailbox, and it's just so funny. And when they come back and to tell everybody, oh yeah, I took Henry driving, and like, we broke a mailbox. It's so funny, and it comes right at a very tense and dramatic moment that they come walking in, and it's like, hey, I learned how to drive, and I ran over a mailbox.
That's cute.
Well, I look forward to that then.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that. I haven't gotten that far yet. It'll be interesting to see though how the character of Charming and / David develop. How Josh Dallas will develop the character now that he and Jennifer are parents themselves. So now that he's married and a father.
With the story. Yeah, well, I mean that's why that baby storyline was written in, because Jennifer was pregnant. So
yeah.
like, okay, we can use this.
Yes,
so
but it's
And I won't say how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When a mommy and daddy love each other.
Well, no, how they use this line of her being pregnant. That's what I meant.
Yeah, but no, it's.
I know about that.
Yeah, that's good. But no, it's just one of those things where it's like, actors will, sometimes, use their own life as a way to, get their mindset and their character. And up until, now, Josh Dallas was playing a father and a grandfather without being a parent himself. And now that he is, it'll be interesting to see, how that may change how he portrays Charming from here on out, being a real father. So, those two are just so cute together.
Oh, they're adorable.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How can you not love them? And I think it's really interesting, just to kind of close that on, at the beginning of season 3, they had a series of character posters with little taglines, and Charming's was "Believe that a prince will save his family." And the first half of season 3 was they had to go save Henry because he'd been kidnapped by very bad people. And that was the first half of season 3. Charming was all about, I got to save my family, I got to save my grandson, this is what I'm going to do. And that's what he does all the time. And it's not just to be heroic, it's because he genuinely cares about his family. And his backstory really lends itself to, he always wanted to, fall in love and have a family. And that's actually what happened. And that was his happy ending. But it took him a long time to get there. As everybody, you have to earn your happy ending in this show.
Yeah.
Oh, heavens, do you ever. So anyway.
I never like that in this show. Like, I like how you don't just have a happy ending, you have to own it. I love that. I don't know why. I think it's me.
It makes him a realistic, even though you're talking about fairies and magic and stuff like that. Yeah. So princes and princesses and fantastical. It's all very real in its own way.
Yep.
Yeah.
So. All right, Holly.
Anyway.
Okay. All right, my last pick is everybody's favorite grandfather from Doctor Who, Wilfred Mott.
Yay!
Otherwise known as Donna's grandfather. I mean, what can we say about Wilf? I mean, very supportive of Donna and even, supportive of the Doctor when he knew that, knock 4 times, my time is coming, even though I don't want it to end. I mean, I teared up. I mean, remembering that scene with Wilf and the Doctor sitting in that diner saying, hey, I know I'm going to be regenerating, and Wilf even offering the Doctor his gun to take out the Master. I mean, who would do that? I mean, someone who cares from, I mean, this is a Time Lord who's older than Wilf. And Wilf's like, hey, I want to see you stick around. Anybody else want to hop in?
Wilfred Mott.
Wilf's praises.
I cannot sing Wilf's praises enough. I mean, he doesn't. I mean, this is like he's a character who is ancillary to the companion, because Donna is the main companion, but Wilf is still a companion in his own right, and he's not a companion he's there for like 1 episode or 2 episodes as a companion officially. But you just love him, and you love him because he loves Donna, because Donna is having a lot of problems with her mother. They don't get along. Her mother thinks she should do one thing. Donna doesn't want to do it. But Wilf is always in her corner. He is always there for her, and he does. I mean, we don't know whether or not he approves of the way she's living her life, but that doesn't matter, because he just loves her and he wants her to be happy, and that's all that really matters. And he he dances around with reindeer antlers while looking for the Doctor. So how can you not love that?
I'm waving my hands during the reindeer dance.
And like we were talking about him being such a supportive grandfather to Donna. I'm probably gonna remember this wrong, but I remember from the end of time. Doesn't he say that he would have been proud to be the Doctor's father?
Yes.
Or the Doctor would have been proud to have. The Doctor would have been proud if Wilf was his dad.
Yes, so, like that. Yeah. And I remember that was like such a quiet scene, and I just loved it. And I was like, I don't know. That's the scene that I started crying at in that episode. And
oh yeah.
And another thing, I think Wilf is been up to that point the only like family member of the companions to actually accepted the Doctor. Like,
that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, because otherwise I think he's been slapped by every single one.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, Jackie got there eventually, but she did it digging her heels into the ground.
Yes.
So.
That is true, and she did a lot of yelling and a lot of slapping.
Yes.
But yeah, Wilf thought that the Doctor was awesome and amazing, and partially because he was so good for Donna. That the Doctor made traveling with the Doctor made Donna happy, and that was what his MO was, is he wanted his granddaughter to be happy, no matter what she was doing or who she was with.
Yes.
And before
he encouraged her to go out and find him.
Oh yeah. And I just want to throw out there, one of my very favorite Doctor Who novels is Beautiful Chaos by Gary Russell, and Wilf takes a big role in that book. I won't say why, because I want you guys to read it and not be spoiled. But it's so cute, and it's so Wilf. It's so perfect. It's also very heartbreaking as well. But just I cannot recommend this book highly enough. It's Beautiful Chaos by Gary Russell. They reprinted it last year for the 50th anniversary. Oh, it's amazing. Oh, my heart. I love it.
I've read it, and because I was chomping at the bit when I saw that was going to be, Wilf was going to feature in a story. I'm like, this is a must-have, and it did not disappoint.
I think
it's
that
very, very excellent.
That might have to be on the book club soon.
Ooh, it is currently on the poll.
Okay.
I believe I put it on the poll. So yeah, so if you're on our Goodreads book club, go vote if you want to read Beautiful Chaos, or just read it on your own. It's a good little read, and Wilfred is amazing in it, as he is in everything, but particularly in that book.
Yes, he needs to come back somehow. But that'd be kind of heartbreaking because Donna wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I think Wilf is done.
Yeah, that's true.
But we got good enough Wilf and Doctor Who.
That's what
I wouldn't say no to more.
That is
fan fiction.
I actually read a really good story with the 11th Doctor, Amy and Rory visiting Bill. I have to find it.
Ooh.
And there is some good fan fiction if you know where to look.
Yep.
Yes, and how to look.
Yes.
Yes.
So, let's see. Next up is Michelle.
Well, keep it in Doctor Who. My next choice is the Doctor himself, who had a family back on Gallifrey. So, although from that family, we only ever met his granddaughter, Susan, and then became a father again in the episode The Doctor's Daughter. And I also, from watching the series, I've sort of considered that he's sort of a father figure for his companions and the human race in general.
Yeah.
Like the way he watches over us, keeps us safe, encourages us to be the best parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even allowing us to make mistakes. I mean, kind of tossing it into Torchwood with children. The 5-part episode with Gwen even
Children
saying,
of Earth.
"Where is
Yeah, Children
of Earth." Thank you. Where is the Doctor now to see what we're going through? That was when he decided, hey, I've got to back away and let you guys kind of have a growing pains here and learn from what's happened.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like, again, the Fifth Doctor's era. We talk about how the crowded TARDIS, and somebody, I don't remember, and this was a long time ago, it must have been on Tumblr, that somebody called the Doctor and his little ducklings, because they all just, tag along with him, and he's got all these kids in the TARDIS that he has to kind of corral and take care of, and even though he's kind of more of a brother figure at that point, but he's also there's that moment in Ford of Doomsday when the Doctor has to verbally smack down Adric for being
brat,
a little brat.
There's always the problem child.
There's always the problem child, but with all his other companions like Joe Grant, I think the third Doctor and Joe Grant relationship is very father-daughter.
Yes.
In that relationship, he's very much a mentor, and even early on. I mean, you mentioned Susan, his granddaughter, but I think also he kind of has that father-daughter relationship with Barbara, and in that she wants to learn. She wants to learn about history. She wants to learn all that she can, but he has to. He tells her, about time travel. You can't change history, but he's also very has that very fatherly outlook towards her, and very affectionate, and even when there's one moment, I think it's in The Rescue, I want to say, but I could be wrong, where he's kind of short with her, but he says, oh, I'm sorry, did I snap at you just then? I'm sorry about that, and Barbara's like, there's nothing to forgive, you're okay, and this, I love that relationship.
Yeah.
So it's kind of is that they have that dynamic, and I think I enjoy it.
And I can also see it with the Seventh Doctor and 8.
Oh, yes, definitely with 7 and 8. There's definitely a father-daughter relationship there. Like the way he teaches her about stuff and lets her, encourages her to learn about what they're their adventures and stuff.
Yeah, Nitro 7. Yeah.
Nitro 9.
No one told you not to make it, but I'm pretty sure you've got it there somewhere.
Yeah. Nitro 9 that not carrying.
Wicked. So, yeah. I'd be interested to see how if Capaldi. I know they've been saying that Capaldi's Doctor is going to be more rebellious, and I still get this third Doctor vibe from Capaldi, even though I've yet to see him as the Doctor, aside from pictures taken while filming and the occasional snuck cell phone footage that somebody's managed to get while they're out filming out in public. But I get a Pertwee vibe from Capaldi and his Doctor, and I think Pertwee's Doctor was a bit rebellious too. I mean, he really was ticked off when he got exiled to Earth for that time. He really did not care for it, and now that Gallifrey is coming back into the picture, it'll be interesting to see that dynamic and see if maybe his Doctor's relationship with Clara becomes more of a parent and child relationship, as opposed to Clara with the 11th Doctor, which was more sister and goofy older brother.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I think with the 12th Doctor, I think it's going to be kind of rocky here at the beginning, and I think that's what they're alluding to with him, being the quote darker Doctor or whatever. Yeah. But I think it's just going to be, you're working through all the bugs of new regeneration and figuring out the personality, and then and then it'll soften up a lot. Kind of what eventually happened with the 6th Doctor and Harry, although it took them forever to get there. It took them a season, a hiatus, Trial of a Time Lord, and a bunch of Big Finish for them to get there, but they got there. Yeah. And I you even watch Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant at conventions or in interviews and things, and they just have this. It feels like they're blurring the lines between reality and fiction, because they're just so that not like sort of uncle niece father-daughter's relationship still, just, in real life kind of a thing. And it's so cute to watch.
Yeah.
And they're so adorable together. I love them.
Paul McGann and Daphne Ashbrook are like that too. If you see them together at conventions, it's like, is this Paul and Daphne or is this Aiden Gray? What's going on here?
But I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So it's like, when it's like you can't tell, but I think because it makes the relationship both outside of the show and in the show just that more plausible.
Yeah. Makes it much more genuine.
Mm-hmm. And it helps.
Yes.
Yeah. And it helps that they're still doing Big Finish, so that's still kind of there. And kind of speaking of Big Finish, Five and Nissa have that same sort of dynamic where they're, it's like, a mentor student sort of thing. It's not quite into father-daughter, but it kind of gets there sometimes. And it's really heartwarming to watch. I'm all about the heartwarming. Bring it on.
More for the feels. So for my last one, I am the weird one and chose somebody who's not fictional, who's an actual person, but still very important as far as history and popular culture goes. And my last choice was Walt Disney. And if you are not familiar with the history of Disneyland, the story is that Walt had two daughters, and he always designated, I think, Saturdays as Daddy-Daughter Day. And he would go with his daughters, and they would go out and go to the zoo and go get ice cream and just whatever. It was his chance to spend time with his daughters. Just the three of them together, outside of him working at the studio and all that during the week. So the story is that he had taken his daughters to Griffith Park, which is in Los Angeles, and you can still go there today. But there's a carousel at Griffith Park, and he was sitting on a bench watching his daughters ride this carousel. And it occurred to him that, this is great that I'm spending time with my daughters, but they're on the ride. I'm on the bench. I really need to come up with a place where parents and their children can go together and enjoy experiences as a family unit. Not just the kids going off and playing on the swings and the playground equipment while the parents sit and chat and, smile and laugh at their kids' antics. And that's where the idea of Disneyland grew from, is he wanted to create a place where families could go, that parents, moms and dads and grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins and kids and everybody could go and enjoy shows and rides and food, and the entire family could go and bond and share this time together. And obviously it was successful. Disneyland opened in 55. Just a little bit. Disneyland opened in 55, and here we are, 60 something years later, and there is Disneyland and California Adventure. You've got 4 parks in Florida. You've got Paris, Tokyo, Hong Kong. There's one opening in Shanghai in a couple of years. So I think his idea had some merit.
Yeah, definitely.
It's grown into this beautiful, magical thing that I myself grew up on as a child. My mom always likes to say that, she grew up on Disney and introduced me to Disney when I was little, and she always says that Mickey Mouse is the one man that is no, but that's a completely different story. But I grew up on Disney. Some of my fondest memories are going to Florida as a kid. We didn't always go to Disney World when we went to Florida, but when we did, I went with my parents and my family, and it was always just a fun time. And now I go as an adult with, my husband, and, we got married there, and we're continuing that tradition. And I'd like to spread the magic to everybody who will listen. I'm not a parent. I'm not likely to ever be a parent, but I get, even without going with children of my own, I still get that feeling, and my husband and I get that feeling. And that's what's nice about it, is even though Disney, the Disney parks started as something intended for families, that it has grown into something that everybody can enjoy, whether you've got children or you don't, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're, a single parent, whether you're going with a bunch of cousins or friends, that there's something for everybody to enjoy. The attractions and the hotels and the food, especially the food, and just the shows, and it's just
just listening to you talk about this, Rachel. When I was growing up, like, I always wanted to go to Disneyland, but my family were not really traveling vacation type people. But my mom always wanted to take us. My dad, he's really not into it. Like, there's a local amusement park here in Utah, and we would go every year because my grandma would take us. But my dad would always go, like, find a tree and sleep for the whole day, because he could never go on the rides or anything with us, and he's really not into rides and stuff. So it took us a long time to convince him to want to go to Disneyland with us. And my mom finally just said, "Okay, we're going to plan the trip." And she's like, "Your dad can come if he wants to, or if he doesn't want to, we're all going." Well, he came. And he had the time of his life at Disneyland, because he always thought Disneyland was just rides and it was just for the kids and it was just this silly little kid thing. But he went on some of the rides with us, but he saw some of the museums and the exhibits and stuff like that he actually did enjoy. And he's like, "We need to go back again." And it's like, "We told you we haven't been back," but that was just just kind of talking about that. And that was something that my dad actually did like, even though he was like, "Oh, this isn't what I'm going to enjoy." But someday we'll get him back. But it was just that made me think of that when you were talking about that. Yeah.
And that's what Walt wanted, and that's the legacy that lives on. And just, if I could meet Walt Disney today, I would just shake his hand and give him a big old hug and just say thank you. Words could not really express the joy that I get from vacationing at Walt Disney World. And eventually we'll make it to Disneyland one of these years. It's a little more strenuous to go to California from Indiana than it is to Florida, but we'll get there eventually. And we've done the cruises, and we'll like to visit the other parks around the world as well. But it's just that's a
didn't Walt Disney want to make Mary Poppins because his daughters really liked the book?
Yes.
Was that a thing? Okay, I'm not making that up.
Yeah, as much story liberties as they took with the movie Saving Mr. Banks, the general idea there is based in reality, that the Walt's girls loved Mary Poppins, and he did spend 20 years trying to convince P.L. Travers to allow him to make Mary Poppins into a movie. Now, what they show in Saving Mr. Banks, Walt was not there when P.L. Travers came to Los Angeles, at least not as often as it's portrayed in the movie. But yeah, the Mary Poppins was a labor of love from Walt to his girls. So between the parks and Mary Poppins and pretty much everything that's got the Disney name on it, you can find ties back to Walt and his desire to create things for children and subsequent generations, and just all of that. And it's amazing what one man was capable of, and what has grown onto years after he is no longer around, that his dream and his legacy is still continuing on. So, the feels.
Yay, Uncle Walt.
Yes, Uncle Walt. So that is our 10, but we do have some honorable mentions. Then I will go through these fairly quickly here because we have been talking for quite a while. But if anybody wants to put in their 2 cents here within these honorable mentions, feel free. Our honorable mentions: Danny Tanner from Full House.
My childhood.
Mine too.
Same here.
Bert Hummel from Glee. That is Kurt's dad. Wonderful character. He is only in a handful of episodes, but he's just an amazing father, encouraging Kurt to be himself. Kurt coming out of the closet and telling his dad is gay, and he's like, I don't care, I love you anyway, and encouraging Kurt, and eventually Bert marries the mother, Finn's mother, and then the subsequent episode where they had to do the goodbye episode to Finn Hudson after Corey Monteith unfortunately passed away. It's just heart-wrenching, absolutely heart-wrenching to see Bert see his loss to a son that was not biologically his. He was his stepson, and he was only his stepson for a couple of years before the character passed. And to see how heartbroken he is and trying to deal with his grief at the same time, helping Kurt with his grief and his wife and Finn's mother with her grief, is just extremely, extremely powerful. So big thumbs up to the people who write the scripts for Glee for writing such a wonderful parental unit within the show. Howard Cunningham from Happy Days.
Mr. C.
Mr. C. Hey. Obviously a father and a father figure to the Fonz, in a way. James Potter from Harry Potter. Unfortunately,
he's one of those in absentia dads, but his legacy is felt beyond his time on this sinful earth.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Harry often thinks about his dad, and everyone says you're just like your dad. And for a long time, he's like, oh yeah, that's great. And then he finds out that his dad did have flaws, and he did do some pretty shameful things. But at the same time, it just kind of shows you, yeah, your parents were people too. They had their screw ups, and they were still, he was still a good person. He still, he loved his son, loved his wife, and would do anything for him. And in the end, saved all their lives. Well, saved Harry's life, didn't save Lily's, but yay, James Potter. I want a prequel of James and Lily and the Marauders.
I would love that.
I am so over Snape. Give me more James and Sirius and Remus and everybody.
I read some really good fan fiction of like the school days and like the little semi happiness before everything happened. So
yeah,
but I want official stuff.
You hear that, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
Joe Rowling, let's get on this.
Yes.
I'm sure she's heard that several times. So.
I'm sure. Lots of people ask her questions about the Potters.
Yeah. Another honorable mention from the Doctor Who universe, Pete Tyler, Rose's father and
hey, Pete.
Not father, depending on how you want to look at that.
Father from an alternate universe. Yeah, yes. How does that work?
Yeah, it's like, dad, but he's not your dad. Yeah, that. But if you've seen,
yeah, in the episode,
yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, although he does become a subsequent, not necessarily father figure, but I mean he is the man who saves Rose from falling into the void in Doomsday.
That is true.
So he gets points there. So.
Which at that particular Pete never had a daughter. Like they only had the dog Rose.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he would come back for her to save her and we won't go into the mechanics or the logistics of how it happened, but that it happened.
Yes.
It's remarkable that he was able to form that bond with her, even though not knowing her very long and not knowing that she was his daughter for a good chunk of that time. But that, he'd come around and it's like, you know what? Yeah, I could be a dad.
Yeah.
or whatever.
Mufasa from The Lion King.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of us, our hearts are breaking just a little bit.
Yeah.
Damn you, Scar.
Exactly.
Plus,
I just want to take a little bit of a tangent real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard of Honest Trailers on YouTube. They recently did one for The Lion King, and in that trailer they were like saying, the most heartbreaking moment since Bambi's mom got killed. But it's like, well, Bambi's mom, you didn't see her dead body on screen. Mufasa's, you see the little lion cub like saying, "Dad, we gotta go home," and you're just like, I gotta leave now.
Yeah.
I've seen the movie since the beginning, since I was 5, and I always used to cry, especially at the part when Simba goes underneath the paw.
Oh yeah,
That's what always moves me.
It's just how good of a character Mufasa was. He was so concerned with making sure his son knew like what his duty would be as a king, but also that they could be pals, they could be buddies, and they could have fun together. And even when Simba did screw up and Mufasa had to chew him out for it, and he still extended that added measure of love after having to discipline him. So it's like that's a remarkable thing. He's just a good character. He's just all around awesome. So
Plus, he's voiced by James Earl Jones, which is awesome in itself. Best dad voice ever. Last couple ones, Uncle Ben from Spider-Man, another surrogate father figure for Peter Parker. I'm not that familiar with the comic books, but obviously what we know from the movies.
Yes, that's all I know too.
Yeah, that's he
movies are good.
He did what he could for Peter, but unfortunately, no good deed goes unpunished, I guess, in this case, in Uncle Ben's case, and pays the price for it. But I think it causes Peter to have to grow up even more, but also kind of grow a backbone, as it were, because Peter before was very geeky and awkward and skittish, at least in the Tobey Maguire version that and I think the death of Uncle Ben caused him to go, oh, I've got to change my priorities here, and causes him to get some cojones, as it were. And last but certainly not least, Keith Mars from Veronica Mars, which another fandom I'm not that familiar with, but if anyone wants to, anyone familiar with Veronica Mars that wants to,
that would be me. That was my choice. Basically, Keith was a detective, and his daughter Veronica, her best friend got murdered, and he blamed the family, and he then started a detective agency, and then Veronica kind of started working for him, which he didn't mind, but she, of course, wants to do a little more investigating and does some things that she probably shouldn't. He's still supportive of her, even though they've had a couple conversations where it's like, what you're doing is dangerous. I want to support you, but I want to make sure that you take care of yourself and not to get hurt. And there's good father-daughter bonding, and he lets her, but just the banter back and forth between them show that they both care for each other.
Cool. Those are our top 10 and our top insert number here honorable mentions.
Which it feels like we talked. It feels like we talked about the honorable mentions just as much as we talked about our actual list.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason that they were on the list in the first place. So we would be remiss not to say something.
The new Charlotte Pollard Series 1, and we get introduced to her father in part 3 of that.
Nice.
Cool.
And he very much encouraged her. Like, he had a shelf in his study where she could put all her adventure books, like her Alice in Wonderland and all that.
Aww.
And after the crash of the R101, there was a time, like, he spent a lot of their fortune trying to, like, looking for detectives trying to find her, and then at one point he, like, about a few years after the crash of the R101, where he, like, locked himself in the study and told his wife he was writing this history book, but he was actually in there reading her adventure books.
Oh.
So
I need to listen to those.
I just wanted to.
Yes.
So, Lord Richard Pollard, I just want to add him to our honorable mentions because of,
as rightly he deserves.
And then at the end of part 3, he forgets that she even existed, which is very sad.
Aww.
Punch me in the face with the feels.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you, Big Finish. Ripping my heart out.
Charlie has a rough life.
Yeah.
I know. But, it's probably going to be a while before we get there with, like, the Traveling the Vortex, because we still have to get through the end of the Aiden Charlie stuff, which they're reviewing 2 this week, and then there's another 2 before the end of the series. And then there's the 6 and Charlie stuff, which is very important as it leads directly into the Charlotte Pollard series.
Yeah, I've actually been listening on my own. I started at one point on the 6 and Charlie stuff. I haven't gotten, and then I got sidetracked on something else, but it's on my to-do list.
I bought the 6 and Charlie stuff when it was on sale before the Charlotte Pollard series was released. So, like, I bought the 6 and Charlie stuff, and then I pre-ordered the Charlotte Pollard series. So, and I've just been listening to that recently, and it's, like, so sad.
Oh, Big Finish. What you do to us?
Big Finish. Well, Big Finish lives off the tears of the fans. Them and George R.R. Martin.
Except George R.R. Martin also lives off of wine.
Yeah, that's right. He mentioned that. Just to bring it all back full circle again.
So I think that's going to be it for this week's episode. So thank you everyone for listening. If you've got maybe a dad that we didn't mention, feel free to, comment in the comment section either on YouTube or on the blog. You can send us feedback. Our email is right on the front page of the blog. We also have a comment form that you can fill out, and that will send us your comment to our email as well.
Yes, and let's give out our blog address real quick. It is. Wait, hold on. It's the. I had it, then it lost it. That is the 5-ish Fangirls podcast.blogspot.com, and you can also get us on Facebook, 5-ish Fangirls, Twitter at 5-ish Fangirls. We're everywhere. So find us. Tumblr, 5-ish Fangirls. So there are plenty of avenues where you can find us. So please come find us and let us know what you think. If you have any other insight about the dads we discussed, or like Rachel said, if you have any that we didn't discuss and you want to bring to our attention, please do. It will be awesome.
Yes.
So that's going to be it for this week's show. So with that, we will say goodbye for now.
This is Brittany saying goodbye from Taos.
This is Chrissy saying goodbye from Salt Lake City.
Bye. This is Holly saying good evening from Wisconsin.
Michelle saying good night from Kitchener, Ontario.
And I am Rachel from Indianapolis, Indiana, saying so long. You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.